Welcome back to the Wizard Shop. This car I'm pulling in is not a customer's car. This is my new car, my recent purchase. Gone are the days of me ripping and roaring through town in an Audi S6. As much fun as that car was, and I enjoyed the engine, enjoyed the sound of it, I didn't enjoy, after a hard day's work, going home and feel like I'm riding on a jackhammer. It's just so stiff, the suspension was. This is the opposite end of the spectrum. It's extremely soft and I love it. I bought this car actually from Bob at Euro Asian. He's on North Broadway in Wichita. If you're in the South Central Kansas and you're in the market for one of these cars, you need to look him up, Euro Asian Auto. So anyways, on to this car. This has got 170,000 miles on it. It's in very, very good shape. It's not beat up, it's not dinged up. The airmatic is in great shape. There is one gripe I have, is when I take off from a stop, there's a slight rumble or vibration. I've already checked it out, and it's a transmission mount. It's actually sunk down pretty far, and it's causing a misalignment with the drive shaft. We're going to be replacing that today. I'm going to walk you guys through it. It's pretty simple. It's just a little aluminum block, basically. So let's get this on the lift, and let's get started. So here's the little transmission mount we're going to be replacing. I have a brand new one, and it's sunk down pretty far. It shouldn't be as far down as it is, but we're going to go ahead and we'll support the transmission with a jack, and we'll take this cross member off, and then we'll be able to just take that out and replace it. It's not too hard, really. First thing we're going to do is take this little splash shield off of here, and so we can support the transmission. 8mm. Okay, we're going to jack the transmission jack up to the pan. That'll help support it while we take this cross member out. Now you want to use a block of wood or something that's about the length of the pan, or maybe even the whole circumference of the pan. You don't just want to use a floor jack or something with the little pad on your transmission. You'll dent the pan and cave it in, and then you'll be in trouble. So there we go. We saw the transmission lift up just a little bit. That's all we need. We don't need to jack it way up into the air. Next thing I'm going to do is remove this little heat shield so I can get to the bolts. That's good enough to get to the bolts. Okay, these are 16mm bolts on the cross member. This one's a E12. As you can see, that the only thing that's being held on now is the actual mount, and you can see it's just floppy and it's no good. So we'll get these looks like 13mm off, and that'll come off. There's our transmission mount. It's way too low. So we'll go ahead and take this center bolt out. Okay. So you're going to need a T50 Torx on this side to take this center bolt out, and then a 16mm on the nut on the other side. So this is a fairly common problem on these cars. It gets misdiagnosed as transmission slipping or something major wrong, and it ends up just being a transmission mount. You want to loosen these two T50 Torx the brackets just to get this out. As we can see, the rubber's torn. Okay, so maybe I need to clean my hands off. You got a rag? This ain't no rag. This is a Car Wizard shirt. Well, I'm not going to wipe my hands on that. We do sell these. If you click the link below, we have coffee mugs and shirts and hoodies and all kinds of cool Car Wizard items. There are even stickers now. So I'll probably get an actual rag. I'm not going to wipe my hands on this. Here we go. Here's a nice brand new mount. I love working on these older Mercedes. They're so easy to work on. I would rather work on these than a Chevy or a Ford or Dodge or what have you. Let me take that. You can see these little ledges in here. That needs to fit up against that. Make sure that you got the pattern correct. As we see on the cross member, it sits in there like this. The single bolt hole goes towards the front of the car, just like that. You don't want to get it backwards and then go, oh, I have to take it all back apart again. So there's that. Put it up against our, I guess you call them ledges, you could call them. Put the bolt there just temporarily. You want to tighten the center bolt first and squish them together. Then you tighten these two that we loosened, because if you don't, it will just try to tweak the whole thing. It could crack. It's just aluminum. It would be easy to crack that. And I torqued that bolt to Wizard foot-pounds, and that's good enough, and that's just what I'm going to do with that. So now we got that tight. Now we'll tighten these two up here. Now we got the center bolt tight, we got those two bolts tight. Now it's time to, as you can see, this thing's very difficult to move now. It's not floppy like the other one. We're going to put our cross member back on. Putting this new mount on is going to bring our geometry on the drivetrain back where it should be, and it won't shudder anymore when I take off from a stop. When you put these on, you don't want to tighten them, cinch them down all the way yet, because as you see, they're slotted. You want to get all your other holes lined up first.
Car Wizard, how would anybody know if they had a transmission mount problem with their car?
You'd have to crawl up under or get it up on jack stands, or if you know someone with a lift, and inspect the mount. It should be sitting up high like it is, not sunk down. As we've seen at the beginning, this was sunk down pretty low. So let's get our other bolts in. Again, don't cinch these down yet. Just get everything into place. The fact that I can't get my bolt in there now, that tells me that my original mount was bad. It was sunk in so far that it would allow me to do this. So what I need to do is just like that. The drive shaft that's in a lot of these European cars is not like the old Cadillac I have back there that it constantly goes and flexes and moves while you're going down the road. These stay stationary. You have independent front and rear suspension. The rear CV shafts will move, but the differential doesn't move. Neither does the drive shaft. Not enough, I mean, minutely with rubber mounts, but that's about it. Let me get my little Torx bolt. Right here. Now we can tighten the cross member up. Don't hammer away with your, especially one of these Milwaukees. They'll break the bolts or strip the threads. Just cinch it down just barely snug, and then I'll go through by hand and tighten those. And this is pretty loud in the shop, but luckily with video editing, we can take a lot of it out for you. Okay. Now tighten the other ones. Do these bolts have a torque spec? Very likely. I've been doing this for 18 years. I've never broke a bolt, and I've never had a bolt break on me, ever. I just, over the years, gotten a feel for the bolts. Okay, now we'll put our heat shield back on. Now we're going to let the transmission rest on its new mount. And this would be very difficult to do with jack stands, and I mean, it could be done, but really it should be up on a lift so you can hold the transmission up. Before, these brackets here were almost touching or getting close to touching here. Now I can fit my finger in there. That's great. We'll put our belly pan back on. I did notice it's a little bit wet here. I've already traced it up to the valve cover gaskets. With 170,000 miles, that doesn't surprise me. And it's a very simple repair. So if that's all I have to do on this car, I think Bob did me right on this one at Euro Asian. And that's that. Should have a smooth riding car now with no shuddering. So all that trouble, or all the shuddering I was getting from this little guy, squished little mount. These are really cool cars. The W220 is very classy, very classic. I really love this car. On this transmission mount, the book time would be about an hour, 1.2. If I wasn't filming and I haven't to go through all the steps and show them to you, I could probably do it in 20 minutes. And I've had that discussion with some of my customers. It pays 1.2 hours, you charge me for 1.2 hours, but it only took you 20 minutes to do the job. Shouldn't you cut my bill back? That's something I wanted to discuss with you guys about running a shop. I charge what the book says, no more, no less. If it takes me half the time to do the job, that's just from experience. Let's say you're a NASA engineer and you find a way to cut a design or cut assembly of a rocket in half. And the supervisor says, excellent work. For doing that for us, we're going to cut your pay. Does that work? Is that fair? He's spent years of his life to figure out ways to speed things up. And in return, he gets his pay cut. That's not how it works. If it says 1.2 hours, I'm charging you 1.2 hours, even if it takes me 5 minutes to change a part. So.
But Car Wizard, doesn't it ever backfire on you?
Sometimes it backfires. Sometimes I can only charge you to 1.2, and it took me 3. I'm not going to charge you to 3, only 1.2. So some people don't understand the ins and outs of a shop, and that just goes along with the territory. But anyways, I look forward to driving this home and nice, smooth, no more shuddering. And again, if there's any tools I've been using or anything that you're interested in seeing what kind of tools I use, they have them on my Amazon affiliate page. Feel free to purchase them. And also we got, like I said, t-shirts and mugs and hoodies with Car Wizard on them. Also, my subscriber number is about 81,000. They're getting really close to 100,000. If you know any friends that are interested in this type of content, send them over, let them subscribe. It'll help me out. I'm really excited to hit that 100,000 subscriber mark and get my little YouTube plaque. That'll be really exciting for me. So there we go, another video in the Wizard shop, and thanks for watching.